bringing Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN front office insider, former Jets GM, and also Dolphins executive. Mike, I saw a couple of days ago where you said Aaron Rodgers was being selfish. Explain why the timing of this, that he's selfish.
Yeah, great to be with you. In a salary cap system, his decision is going to impact a lot of his teammates, specifically Devontae Adams, Preston Smith, Zadarian Smith, a couple other guys as well. When you look at what Drew Brees and the Saints did the last 4 years he was there, Dan, they had the best record in the NFL. It's really simple. You lower the cap charges now and you push him out. If he's going to come back, and don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers should be the highest paid player in the game. He deserves whatever he wants. But he's being selfish because until he says, I am back, they can't re-sign some of their players. We just came back from the Combine last night. You're already hearing things like DeMarcus Lawrence being asked to take a pay cut, other players getting deals done or not. They can't handle their business until the Packers know if Rodgers is going to be there and how to structure his contract.
Why do you think this is taking so much time, that he's truly torn between staying in Green Bay and going someplace else?
I think every day that he's not making a decision, he's closer to leaving. And here's why. Like, what could he possibly know on March 8th or 9th that he doesn't know today? You know, Dan, smartly, about 10 days ago, the Packers hired his old quarterback coach, Tom Clements. There's nothing else that he needs to know. If he was coming back, he should say, hey, fellas, pay me $50 million a year, lower the cap numbers, bring everyone back. We saw that with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Every day he doesn't see that, I would be scared to death if I'm the Packers and thinking, you know what, we're probably going to have to move on from him and a whole bunch of other players, and we got to rebuild.
What's his trade value at that age?
Well, I think because of what we saw with Tom Brady, I think it's a minimum of 2 first-round picks and probably 3. You know, if Matt Stafford went for 2, if I'm George Paton, the general manager of the Broncos, I'm giving up 3 first-round picks, and I'm going to be the odds-on favorite to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl next year with Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback.
If you're Denver, would you do that? If I said it's going to cost you 3 first, I was told a long time ago, Green Bay has so much confidence in their ability to draft. They want picks. They don't want players. So if you're Green Bay, you get those picks. You give up Aaron Rodgers if you have to. Is that worth it?
100%. You can't overpay greatness. If you have Aaron Rodgers for 3 years or 4 years, does it really matter if it costs you an extra first-round pick, which by all accounts, Dan, should be a low pick in the 20s, maybe 31, 32. So the day he walks in the building, you have a meaningful chance to win the championship. And by the way, Dan, that gives you about 4 or 5 years to try to draft his replacement as well.
I'm also trying to figure out what's going on in Seattle, because I feel like they're quietly shopping Russell Wilson. And he's got the, he can got the trade kicker in there that he can't be traded. He can veto that. So what should Seattle do?
I totally agree. They should rebuild. If I was Seattle, John Schneider's done a great job there as their GM. They have the 4th best team in the NFC West. If you could get multiple first-round picks, and to me, where it all lines up is Philadelphia, go get their 3 ones. Philadelphia, with Russell Wilson, has a chance to win the NFC East. And now if you're Seattle, you could rebuild. Because right now, if you're there with Russell Wilson, you're looking up at not only the Rams, but the 49ers. And Arizona made the playoffs for Kyler Murray. So if I'm them, we had a great run with Russell, but now's the time to restart.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's the place that Russ would want to go. Now, I think Philadelphia is a lot better than what people think. I just don't know if that's a team that Russ would want to go to. And would Seattle let him go to the NFC?
No, that's totally fair. Now, with that said, the other place I think is fascinating to me is Pittsburgh. You have a championship head coach. You got a championship defense. And the pitch I would make if I was Pittsburgh is, hey, look, our defense is as good as what Tampa's was 2 years ago. Tom Brady came down. We won a championship. You bring Russell Wilson in with Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, and that defense, they have a chance to win a championship. And Dan, this is really hard for us to say, but Pittsburgh has to figure out how are they going to close the gap with none other than the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. But how do you quietly shop somebody, Mike?
That's how we got Brett Favre when I was at the Jets. That's your job. You got to be a great listener. You got to call every team all the time. And you have to say, hey, is Russell Wilson available? And tell us what the bill is. When you're dealing with guys like a Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, there's not a ton of negotiations. It's more of like, here's the bill. Do you want to pay it? And again, based on my experience, Dan, you pay bills. You can't overpay greatness in terms of quarterback. We just came back from the combine. There's really not a lot of answers there this year. And there's about at least 12 teams that need a quarterback. If I could get Wilson or Rodgers, I'm not letting the other team get off the phone.
But when you called the Packers about Brett Favre, take me into those discussions. How does it work?
Well, he really wanted to go to Tampa Bay and pay for John Gruden at the time and wanted nothing to do with going to New York or the Northeast. So we actually spent a lot of time convincing him that where we were, there was farms and he could go hunting. In fact, I said, Brett, if you don't hunt every single Tuesday, your day off, I'm going to fine you. There will be mandatory hunting and fishing as a New York Jet. And we just kept trying to understand what his concerns were because Green Bay, ironically, with Aaron Rodgers sitting there, knew they were in great shape at the quarterback position. And what we had going for us was they really wanted him in the AFC more than the NFC. So that really helped our advantage. And again, fast forward to today, Dan, if I'm sitting there as the Packers, I would much prefer to trade Aaron Rodgers to the Denver Broncos than the 49ers or any other team in the NFC.
Yeah, but I also wonder if Green Bay knew what they had in Jordan Love, would they be going through any of this right now?
I think Green Bay had the right strategy and poorly executed. And what I mean by that is 2 years ago, they said, hey, you know what? We got to be prepared for Aaron Rodgers graduating. And what happened was they traded a fourth round pick. They traded a fourth round pick to go up and get Jordan Love. They have more questions than answers with him. And if I was them, I would just keep adding one. And that's what the great Ron Wolf did. Matt Hasselbeck, Mark Brunell, Aaron Brooks, all those quarterbacks were developed under Brett Favre. They need that same mindset because the only grade you really can give Jordan Love, Dan, is a grade at incomplete, but they have to keep that mindset of keep adding another quarterback.
Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers for 3 years or Russell Wilson for 5?
Rodgers for 3 because I think he's the best player on the planet. And again, if we were running a team, Dan, we'll keep looking for his replacement. But when you have a chance to win a championship, it's hard to say no to that.
Would you rather have Rodgers for 1 year or Brady for 1 year?
Ooh. Probably Brady. I got 20 years of scar tissue with that guy. Who would you take, Dan?
For 1 year, I would take Rodgers.
Why is that?
I think he can do more with less. I think Brady, when it's structured, when like he has the right people in the right place. I think Rodgers can make things happen. I don't think Tom makes those things happen. All things equal, that Tom gets to pick his team and Aaron gets to pick his team, I'd probably take Tom, but you don't get to always do that.
Let's spice it up a little bit.
All right.
I'd rather have Tom Brady at his salary and his lesser demands economically than Rodgers as his, because if we have Tom, we can bring back a lot more of the band than Aaron Rodgers could.
Okay. How much is Tom going to cost you?
What did he play for? About 25, 26 billion in Tampa, where Rodgers will probably double that. If Mahomes is at 45, I think Rodgers, if he plays, will be north of 50.
Yeah, and I think that's fair when you bring in the money. But do you think Tom Brady's done?
No, I don't. You know why? He could have told the entire planet when he was on with Jim Gray that I am done unequivocally. And I think if you cut Tom Brady in half, Dan, what's going to ooze out of him is a world-class competitor. And you're a great dad. I like to think I'm a good dad. You can take your kids to school, and that's all well and good. But it's Tom Brady. Like, how many times can you take the garbage out to the end of the driveway, right? I mean, even as long of a driveway as he has, like, at some point, right? Guy's still playing at a high level.
How do you pursue Tom Brady if you're the Niners?
Oh, that's easy. I am relentless. I am saying this is about your legacy. This is your hometown. And we'll talk to Tampa Bay. You tell them that you're not going to play there. I lived this, unfortunately, because what happened was Favre was like, look, I want to play one more year, and I don't want to play here anymore. It worked out for us at the Jets because we had just hired Rex Ryan. We wanted to draft somebody to build with Rex. We got fortunate. It worked out. We drafted Sanchez, won a whole bunch of games together. But if I was the 49ers, I would call up Joel Glazer, the owner of the Buccaneers, and just say, hey, he's not playing there anymore. We want to sign him for, one more year, and we'll give you something, because if not, he's just going to rot away on your reserve retired list. So why not get at least something for him? And then at the right time, have Tom put some pressure on. And that could be more of a July conversation, to be candid.
Yeah, but Bruce Arians said it's bad for business if all of a sudden you're letting Tom kind of dictate what goes on here.
Yeah, what's worse for business, Bruce, is if you get nothing for a guy that says he wants to play, but he just wants to play for his hometown. So it could get really sticky. And again, I actually lived it, Dan. I thought through those machinations of like, we may tell Brett he can't go anyplace else, but I was just thinking like, at the end of the day, if the guy doesn't want to be there, you're really stopping progress of your own organization. So at some point, cut your losses, get what you can, and move on. Because at some point, either Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert, someone's going to be the guy for them in Tampa Bay. And if Tom wakes up on July 4th and said, hey, these carpools are a little bit too much for me, and I want to play for my hometown, I think it'd be hard for Tampa to stop that.
All right, we have a bet here. Paulie, my producer, thinks that a quarterback is selected the first 13 picks of this draft. The over-under is 13.5. Now, any quarterback is going to go in the top 13 picks. Where do you want to weigh in on that?
I'm going to take the under. I was there. There's a lot more questions than answers this year. And with that said, if you and I, Dan, were having a conversation in 3 years, I think Kenny Pickett will be a decent starter. I think Malik Willis is super intriguing because he's really well built. He just needs a little polish, and I think they'll be drafted, but I think it's lower in the teens at the earliest.
Oh, so you're taking the over. So there's not a quarterback selected in the first 13. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I meant under, like lower in the round. But yes, I think it's
okay.
18, 19, 20, somewhere in there.
When does hand size matter with these quarterbacks?
Great question, Dan. Context is everything. Kenny Pickett's had 27 fumbles and lost 11 of them. It's meaningful with him. If we're talking about a guy that never had any fumbles, you could have 6-inch hands. It wouldn't matter. But the fact that they were sub 9 inches and he's had ball security. Now, with that said, if you and I were running a team, we could still take him, but we'd be sitting there talking about what's our plan for him? What's the ball security drills? Like, how are we going to work on this? Every player has strengths and weaknesses, but his hand size is meaningful because he's had 27 fumbles in his career.
What's the 33 team? Is that you're teaching at Columbia? Is that part of that?
Well, yeah,
curriculum?
They're slightly different. So the 33rd team is a bunch of coaches like Doug Peterson, Dan Quinn, that when they weren't with the team, they wanted to stay current. And we have some rock star grad students that are supporting them. And we're just putting out free content to the world. That's sort of like just looking at things from behind the curtain. We had Brian Schottenheimer just write an article about what it's like to be a quarterback coach at the Combine. We had Bill Pulling write an article, why he hired Tony Dungy. And it's just trying to bring people behind the scenes. It's 33team.com. And we have a free newsletter.
But you're also teaching a course at Columbia University, aren't you?
I am. So I squeeze that in between my responsibilities at ESPN. So we do that every Tuesday in the fall, and that's the business of the NFL. And it's great. There's so much to talk about around the league. And there's a whole bunch of grad students that are way smarter than their professors. So I think I learn as much from them as they learn from me.
Help me understand this. Sam Howell, the North Carolina quarterback, goes in for his interview with the Eagles, and as soon as he walks in, they have him do Papa's shot. What are you looking for there if you're the Eagles?
Competitors. Like Pete Carroll's really known for that. Like Pete, in his team meetings, will have an offensive guy against a defensive guy, and he wants them competing at everything. And I think you're looking, Coach Parcells has a great expression, Dan, like you want a battlefield commander as a quarterback. So does he hit the shot? Does he command the room? Does he handle adversity? I can't tell you how many times, Dan, over the years in Indy, we have taken quarterbacks off our board where we would show some interceptions and we would say, hey, take us through that play. And they would blame the play call. They blame the receiver. They blame, and like they're off the board. So you learn a lot about people that way.
What if they're right? What if their assessment of the play was it was a bad call? That receiver made the wrong pattern.
Yeah, no, that's fair, Dan. But you got to be Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes and have a little equity in that conversation first.
You don't think Aaron Rodgers would blame the play calling or his wide receiver coming out of Cal?
He would, 100%. But it's interesting you say that. Aaron Rodgers slid for a lot of reasons back in the day, and we didn't interview him when he came out. But I'll tell you, like, intangibles matter, especially at that position.
What was the criticism of Rodgers and why he fell to the first end?
He was a junior college transfer. First of all, he was not And now, look, nowadays that wouldn't matter at all. Back then, there was all sorts of studies about being a 30, 40 game starter. And I think there were some questions about, leadership. And look, at the time, the irony was, Alex Smith went 1 and Mike McCarthy was the offensive coordinator of the 49ers. Mike Nolan was the head coach. They picked Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers. McCarthy becomes the head coach of the Packers, and the rest is history. So the ultimate irony was if McCarthy, as the offensive coordinator of the 49ers, had selected Aaron Rodgers, think about how much history would have been different for Mike Nolan at the time, Aaron Rodgers, and McCarthy in Green Bay.
Great stuff as always, Mike. We appreciate your time. Thank you. You make us smarter.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Big fan of your show and really appreciate you having me.
That's Mike Tannenbaum, the ESPN NFL front office insider, former Jets GM.